That's right, Sarkozy Gate, that juicy phone tapping scandal involving the former president Nicolas Sarkozy. Well, more information has come out, this time on Mediapart, that's an online investigative website. Now, they basically have released a summary of transcripts, so it's kind of complicated, of conversations that Nicolas Sarkozy had with his lawyer, Thierry Herzog. Now, remember that earlier this month it emerged that an investigative judge had ordered that these phone conversations be tapped because both Sarkozy and his lawyer were suspected of tampering with justice. So Mediapart has a summary of these conversations, conversations that took place between the two men between January 28th and February 11th. And indeed, they do suggest that they were trying to tamper with justice.
And left-leaning paper Libération focusing on Mediapart's new revelations.
That's right. Libération says there's no doubt about it. They were tampering with justice. They have very harsh words today, ramming into Sarkozy, talking about Sarkozy's plot against justice. Now, Libération says these transcripts are very clear about the fact that basically a senior prosecutor within France's highest court named Gilbert Azibert, he was feeding confidential information to Sarkozy. And Libération says what these transcripts show is that Sarkozy was ready to pay him. So very serious allegations here from Libération. And its editorial, it says, if ever there was a doubt that this was happening, it's been lifted. This is a very, very serious scandal that the right can't deny. Now, judges have launched an investigation into influence peddling involving Sarkozy. Libération says is very much justified. And that on top of that, this case really shines a light on Sarkozy when he was president and the way he used and abused power.
And Libération even going as far as, if you like, telling the UMP and Sarkozy's followers off for trying to turn this around onto the government. That's
right. This is what we saw last week. There was kind of a boomerang situation where this whole phone tapping case that, initially looked bad for Sarkozy, well, it made the government look bad because it emerged that ministers had known about it. They were lying about the fact that they knew about it. The right really rammed into the socialists, saying it was a scandal. Well, Libération says this whole thing had been a distraction, an attempt to turn Sarkozy into a victim. But it's very important to get back to the real issue here, and that's that a former president was attempting to tamper with justice.
Not good for the UMP, is this just a couple of days before the elections?
That's right, and Libération is focusing on this as well. Surprise, yeah. Having a field day today. Now, this comes as two of Sarkozy's former ministers are going to be grilled in separate cases. So you can see former finance minister and the current IMF chief, Christine Lagarde, there. She's going to be grilled for her role in a very controversial arbitration payment to a businessman named Bernard Tapie. And on top of that, the former defense minister, Michèle Alliot-Marie, MAM, as she's known here in France, she's going to be grilled for shady money transfers between 2010 and 2012. So all this is pretty bad timing for the UMP.
OK, let's put some balance in. What about the UMP? How are they reacting, Flo?
Well, let's go to the Figaro, the right-leaning paper. They point out that officially, at least, the party is very much united in the storm, especially because those municipal elections are just in a couple of days. But this article points out that as if things weren't bad enough, the party is also plagued with internal fighting for the leadership. You can see the current leader there, Jean-François Copé. Well, he's being challenged by the former Prime Minister, François Fillon, who wants his job. But this article points out they're going to put off that fight until after the European elections in May.
And the socialist government also in the spotlight today.
That's right. There have been a lot of rumors that there's going to be a government reshuffle, probably after the municipal elections. Well, Le Monde wonders actually if there's some sort of a temptation for a status quo, especially when it comes to the Prime Minister, Jean-Marc Ayrault. This article points out that, there are a lot of chances that he could stick around, even though he's been very criticized for his role as Prime Minister. Now, Aujourd'hui en France takes a closer look at other rumors, this time that the new government would be a lot smaller with fewer ministers, but it points out this is a real headache for François Hollande, who's losing sleep over this issue at night.
OK, a lot more coverage, no doubt, of all of those stories coming up over the next few days just before those elections at the weekend. Flo, thanks a lot. Flo and Stephen on France 24. Latest news, of course, coming up very, very shortly. Plus, today, as the crisis continues in Crimea, we're going to be talking in today's Focus to the young local recruits signing up to join the pro-Russian military, determined that their country will follow the Russian path. That coming up for you in 15-20 minutes here on France 24.